protect the CBI, our goose that laid the golden eggs. Yes. And this was confirmed, Mr. Speaker. This was confirmed in the address by the Honorable Prime Minister to the nation on July 20th, 2023, following the decision of the United Kingdom to suspend visa access to holders of Dominica's passports. Mr. Speaker, in that address, the Prime Minister gave the assurance, and I want to repeat that assurance. I quote, "We have fresh impetus to go back and relook where we can do even better in terms of giving our international counterparts confidence in our security measures," end quote. And Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt that this government will do exactly that. My dear constituents of Roseau North, Dominicans, be assured that your government is working for you and for your future. You are in good hands. Mr. Speaker, I'm going back to the budget. But Mr. Speaker, you realize in everything I've said about the economy, the honorable member, the honorable senator from Marigot, is the one that spoke already, is actually saying the same thing that I said, but maybe different backgrounds, maybe our interpretation just seems to be different, because he was saying the ECCB is saying the economy is buoyant, the IMF is saying that. Maybe I'm not aware because I've known him for a while. Maybe he actually pursued a degree in economics, and maybe he has computed data to show the contrary. Maybe he should show us his methodology so that we can discuss. But certainly, the words that he has uttered in quoting the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank as well, it is absolutely consistent with what the IMF has said, and certainly consistent with what I am seeing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to spend a little time, quickly, to talk about some of the major projects in the budget as I lend support to our amazing budget. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to lend my support to several key elements outlined in the budget, which was so ably presented by the Honorable Minister for Finance. My main takeaway from the budget, Mr. Speaker, is that this government is continuing to lay the foundation to expand our economy and meet our development objectives as a country, with the aim, of course, to enhance the standard of living of every Dominican, including my parliamentary colleagues on the other side of the House. And Mr. Speaker, this is not at all. This budget has prioritized the preservation of our social program to safeguard the vulnerable. How commendable, I say, Mr. Speaker. In spite of the global uncertainty, we are doing well, we are doing okay, and we recognize as a caring government that there are people who are relying on us, and this government took the decision to continue to look after the vulnerable, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, this is evident in the list of development projects presented in the budget. Mr. Speaker, oh, I love the catchy jingle that comes to mind all the time. You know what that is, Mr. Speaker? Look, the airport come in. I just can't seem to get that jingle out of my head for the last couple of months. That transformational and long-awaited project is unfolding right before our eyes. And Mr. Speaker, you do not have to believe me. Just take a drive to the community of Wesley to witness that transformation. One of the first things you'll see, Mr. Speaker, is the vibrant new community at Joe Burton. The homes built for residents whose houses were located on lands identified for the construction of the international airport. And that isn't all, Mr. Speaker. Work is progressing otherwise. But I invite you to visit the area and the rest of Dominica to visit that area to see firsthand what this great Dominica Labour Party is doing, Mr. Speaker. The international airports will undoubtedly be the most significant and transformational project in the history of our country. And I wish to echo the sentiments of the leadership of this government that we are determined to make this project a reality. The international airport is coming. Thank you, Honorable Member, for the Marigot constituency. I see that jingle is rubbing off on you very quickly. Thank you for that. Mr. Speaker, make no mistake, the government is working hard and is a hard-working government, and we are resourceful. And under the able guidance of the Honorable Prime Minister, our esteemed leader, we will forge ahead with the construction of the international airport. There's general consensus that this project will open new avenues to stimulate our local economy. But even before I speak of the long-term merits of the project, which I probably don't need to because everybody already understands, what are the benefits we already seen on the ground? The Honorable Member for the Wesley constituency already told us about the number of persons engaged in that project. But I'm telling the member, I'm coming for a slight piece of that pie. Mr. Speaker, I can't contain my excitement over the construction of the long-awaited international airport. Just imagine the buzz and activity when earthworks begin. We're talking about a massive boost to employment, not only in the construction, on the construction site, but also in the surrounding communities. I expect people will flock to the Wesley area in search of those opportunities. And I expect some of those people to be people in the Roseau North constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am determined to ensure that the Roseau North constituents have information on all of the available job opportunities on that airport site. Yes, Honorable Grant, we're coming for some. I am committed to ensuring that arrangements be made to facilitate my people in the Roseau North constituency for being able to go to Wesley and be part of that project. Mr. Speaker, because this is a massive undertaking for Dominica, I want to tell my people in Roseau North that they too can get a piece of the pie. In fact, as soon as information is available, the jobs that are currently available, I will come to you so that we can strategize to see how you can get an interview and how you can get to and from Wesley. There is no doubt, Mr. Speaker, my eye is on the prize. I'm going to get a piece of that pie for Roseau North. But that's not all, Mr. Speaker. Everyone, we all need to be forward-thinking and start getting ready for the other jobs that will be available.
30 more minutes.
Okay. With the influx of visitors, there will be a demand for various services. So let us seize the moment, Dominicans. Let us be proactive. From entertainment to bed and breakfast accommodation to catering services, providing snacks, lunch for the people who are working, even the supply of some raw materials from local retailers, and of course, transportation services. We have a chance to be independent, to elevate our standard of living, and to truly thrive. This government is giving Dominicans those opportunities, and it behooves us. We need to make use of them, Mr. Speaker. I also want to touch on the ongoing works to extend the runway at Douglas Chas Airport. Mr. Speaker, I'm doing a little bit of tourism for one reason. I'm speaking on what this government is doing in tourism because our goal is to diversify the economy, and one of the sectors identified to diversify the economy and is doing an amazing job already. They are actually allowing, and we are seeing the results of the work from the Ministry of Tourism in growing the economy, and that is why I am spending time to lend my support to those transformative projects in the budget, those that we expect and those that we are confident will help us to expand the economy. Senator Paris, I see you smiling, so I can see you agree with me. Thank you for that. Let us be clear. These improvements are absolutely essential because fundamentally they are about the safety and well-being of Dominican people and the visitors who come to our shores. As I have said, Mr. Speaker, the international airport will be built, but some naysayers are suggesting that we wait until there's a disaster, maybe before we make the necessary changes at Douglas Chas. What happens in the 3 to 4 years while we construct the international airport? Do we just sit by idly and forgo the economic benefits that could result from an improved Douglas Charles Airport? For sure, Mr. Speaker, this is also about hard economics. Improved facilities at Douglas Charles can only mean increased visitor arrivals, which will have spillover effects on our accommodation, our food and beverage and transportation, and other sectors. Mr. Speaker, I have no doubts that the hoteliers and many service providers who cater to our tourists all stand with this government as we continue to prioritize the tourism industry, recognizing its endless benefits to us as a country. So this government is again being proactive. We are taking steps to solve the issues at our main airport, knowing that these changes will positively impact the economy and our people. And while on the face of it, it may not make sense to some right now, I can assure the people of Dominica that it will all come together in the end. Mr. Speaker, another project mentioned in the budget which holds so much promise for Dominica is the marina at Cabritz. You know, Mr. Speaker, earlier this year in March, a yachting festival was held in Portsmouth. And while I was not there in person, I heard from people who were in attendance, and I also saw some pictures on social media. Based on that, and from all accounts, it was a resounding success, and the event attracted hundreds of yachties and locals alike who had an opportunity to sample and experience our local culture. That event alone made an even stronger case for the construction of the marina in Portsmouth. And we give this government credit for moving ahead with yet another major project to diversify our economy. I am excited about the prospects for the North and for Dominica, Mr. Speaker. From what I have seen in recent months, the world is clearly interested in Dominica as a destination. It is obvious that the Minister of Tourism and her able team are doing something right. How else do we explain the numerous accolades in top publications about Dominica at this time? And Mr. Speaker, we all know what they are. We voted #1 island in the Caribbean by Travel and Leisure in both 2022 and 2023. Forbes listed Dominica in the top 5 destinations in 2023. Time magazine had us in the list of the world's greatest places. Mr. Speaker, even in Sports Illustrated 2023 swimsuit edition, Dominica was featured. Mr. Speaker, the onus is on us as a government and as a people to embrace these accolades and strong interest in our country as a destination. We have to jump on this, Mr. Speaker, and put the necessary infrastructure in place to attract as much of the tourist dollar as we can. But much of our success will depend on us and our attitudes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the tagline, tourism is everybody's business, is still relevant today. But Mr. Speaker, I will leave the rest for the Minister of Tourism. I think I have tried as much as I can to show that this government does have a plan. These are not just numbers in that little green book. These are not just numbers. These are numbers to back up a plan of this government to move this country forward, to expand the economy, all to us to empower our people and have them have a higher standard of living, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's so much more I can highlight from the budget. The proposed vendors arcade, which is sure to uplift the tourism experience and increase income for vendors. I'm excited about it for the vendors of the Rosenhoff constituency on that project, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, other major investments that we see in the budget include increased investments in agriculture, which will no doubt position Dominica as a leader in food security in the region. Our move to build energy security through the geothermal energy plant and pursue projects in the blue economy. These are exciting and promising prospects for Dominica. But in the interest of time, I will shift my attention to important initiatives being undertaken within my ministry, some of which have already been articulated in the budget address. Mr. Speaker, one of the initiatives currently being undertaken is the automation of services. Automation of services to modernize and to be efficient. The Labor Division processes numerous work permits daily. It must be noted that this exercise is totally manual. In pursuit of efficiency, consistent with the national reset, I'm delighted to announce that the services of the Labor Division will soon be fully automated. We are currently in the testing phase, and once implemented, this online service will allow clients to submit applications remotely, reducing wait time and processing delays. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, applicants will be able to check their status, the status of their applications online. Our goal is to strengthen and streamline processes through this modernization initiative. In addition, by the end of this fiscal year, we plan to complete the digitalization of all of our records in the Labor Division. This will enhance access to records and improve administrative efficiency to benefit all of our stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, one of the programs closest and dearest to my heart as part of my portfolio is the Canadian Caribbean Seasonal Agriculture Workers Program. Mr. Speaker, allow me to give some details on that program, which is really a job placement through the Labor Division. The countries within the OECS, which includes Dominica, we are represented in Canada by the Eastern Caribbean Liaison Services, which was established to administer members' interests in that Canadian program. Mr. Speaker, between 1976 and 2020, hundreds of Dominicans have traveled to Canada under the program, and many have become model ambassadors for their country and the region by extension. I remember the first time I was exposed to that program, Mr. Speaker, I was speaking to one of my colleagues, and he explained to me that constituents of his for a number of years had actually been on that program, and they were able to come back and build their own homes, Mr. Speaker. Isn't that an amazing program that this Dominica Labour Party is supporting? Mr. Speaker, at this time, we have 126 active workers from Dominica. It's important to note that in the last 2 years, we've actually had 4 women as part of that program. And we look forward to the continued participation and are hopeful that other women will also be interested in that program. I am happy to report, Mr. Speaker, that at present, a total of 19 young men from the Roseau North constituency are part of this program. I know 19 out of 126, but Mr. Speaker, I'm getting there. Have no fear. Mr. Speaker, there is much interest for this program, and I give an assurance today, especially to my constituents, that I will soon engage the Eastern Caribbean Liaison Services in an attempt to secure even more positions for Dominica in the future. Roseau North, I have heard you. I am coming to you. I'm on this. Trust me, I will get it done for you. Mr. Speaker, moving to the organizational review and reclassification. In 2019, the Honorable Prime Minister articulated the vision for the government of Dominica to work on the reclassification and modernization of the public service. Soon thereafter, government engaged CARICAD, Caribbean Center for Development Administration, to undertake the exercise. One of the main components of the ORR was a job evaluation exercise, which was conducted to determine the appropriate remuneration and reclassification of jobs in the public service to help establish internal equity. This process was undertaken in collaboration with a job evaluation committee consisting of public officers and members of the union trained in conducting the review and assessment, as well as a team of independent consultants coordinated by the staff of CARICAD. Mr. Speaker, we are pleased that a report on the job evaluation has been favorably reviewed, and we are proceeding with the first phase of implementation with effect from September 1, 2023. In summary, we have seen upgrades to 73 positions within the police service, fire and ambulance service, Department of Social Services, environmental health, Dominica Prison Services, the Division of Agriculture, nursing service, forestry, labor division, customs and excise division, administration, and other departments of government. Most of the upgraded positions will move up 1 or 2 grade levels and will benefit from increases in the minimum and maximum salaries within their scale. Increases will take effect from September 1, 2023. In addition to the job evaluation, a review of the grade and salary structure was conducted. This review reduced some anomalies in the structure, addressed some of the wide pay scales at various levels, developed a unified salary structure for the general public service and the police service. Mr. Speaker, using one scenario, the scenario for social welfare officer, based on the revision of the salary structure and the upgrade of positions, that position will move from a grade 7 to a grade 8. And officers in that position will realize an increase in their monthly salary of $1,019.13. Isn't that my favorite word today? Amazing. Mr. Speaker, as indicated in the budget address, this is just the first phase of implementation of the ORR. A special committee has been established to undertake further review and make recommendations for other positions over the next few months. Other components of the ORR, more specifically the comprehensive review and recommendations for the organizational structure of ministries and departments, will be considered in this financial year. On behalf of the government of Dominica and the public service, I wish to acknowledge the contribution of CARICAD and extend gratitude for its continued professional support. At this juncture, Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me not to recognize and to applaud the efforts of the team of public officers who, along with CARICAD, reviewed all of the benchmark positions of the public service, making them ready for the job evaluation exercise. The team of public officers, together with representatives of the Dominica Public Service Union, the Dominica Association of Teachers, and the Police Welfare Association, must be thanked for their participation in the conduct of the job evaluations. Also, Mr. Speaker, the Steering Committee for the ORR, the Committee of Permanent Secretaries, and Lady Catherine Daniel for their management and general direction for the project. Mr. Speaker, Service Delivery Improvement Program in this government was launched in 2020 to advance the modernization efforts. I'm trying to go through this one quickly. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Labor is collaborating with the Office of the Cabinet Secretary, and in the fiscal year 2020-2023 undertook a qualitative assessment of the customer service centers across several ministries to provide, as a way of improving our service to persons who come through the government. Mr. Speaker, I am proud that my ministry is taking the lead as a national, because we have also started to implement it. I am proud that my ministry is leading by example as the national reset unfolds. Mr. Speaker, in this age of digital advancement, where technology has transformed our lives in remarkable ways, it is imperative for governments to embrace the digital revolution, and harness its potential to better serve citizens. Through the Ministry of Labor, government through the Ministry of Labor has prioritized the delivery of services electronically and has taken steps to ensure that citizens will soon benefit from the ability to apply and pay for government services online We expect by September of this year, everything is going to be online. Mr. Speaker, I'm running out of time. And I need to move to the most important section of my presentation. Mr. Speaker, I'm back.
You have 13 more minutes.
15.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the honourable member be given additional 15 minutes.
Second, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the honourable member be given an additional 15 minutes. Those in favour? Those against? No. The ayes have it. You are given an additional 15 minutes.
Sorry. Mr. Speaker, through you, I want to reiterate my commitment to the people of the Roseau North constituency. I have, and I will continue to work for them to make a difference in their lives. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I have a tagline which evolved from my interactions with constituents and the feedback received thereafter. And that tagline is, touching lives, making a difference. And I dare say, Mr. Speaker, that I am told by many that that is exactly what we are doing in the Roseau North constituency. Mr. Speaker, in the Ministry of Labour and indeed at the parliamentary level, we are prioritizing employment as a pillar of socio-economic development, understanding its role as a stepping stone to self-sufficiency. We are committed to fostering entrepreneurship and facilitating the growth of small businesses. Our vision of empowerment extends especially to our young men and women, especially the single mothers too, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since assuming office last December, I have placed great emphasis on increasing the employability of my constituents and young Dominicans in general. I must point out that I have taken a very hands-on approach in this process of preparing the young people of my constituency to enter the workforce. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, Roseau North is home for many enterprising youth who want access to better opportunities and to build better lives for themselves, which makes this initiative suitable for our area. The goal is not just to secure jobs for the youth, but to set them up for long-term success in their careers. Mr. Speaker, my objective is empowerment through employment, through skills development, and through education. I understand that we need to hand our people the means to stand on their own 2 feet, to make their own way in life, and to take charge of their own future. And so, Mr. Speaker, I see myself as a facilitator of their dreams and aspirations, as I understand that I have a number of young men and women throughout the constituency who only need a little helping hand. That's all they need, Mr. Speaker, a helping hand to get their lives on the right track, as we say. They're no different from any of us in this honorable chamber, Mr. Speaker. And I say to you, they are bright sparks. I have already seen that just a little outreach can make a huge difference in their lives, and that is what I have been doing. Mr. Speaker, in January, fresh out of the general elections, I took it upon myself to call the private sector to request their assistance. And the assistance that I requested was with respect to information. I asked them for their help to tell me when they have job opportunities so that I can be aware of those opportunities to match them. You know, like a headhunter, Mr. Speaker, matching job opportunities with skills. This is what I have been trying to do. This was my first task as a para rep, and I am proud to say so. Anything to empower my people, I need. Roseau North, I got you. As you can imagine, I didn't stop there. I facilitated myself one-on-one sessions with my constituents to assist them in the preparation of cover letters and resume writing, in interviewing techniques. I went further, Mr. Speaker. I've had sessions and discussions on the way to dress, the way to speak during a job interview, how to make the first impression on a job interview. And Mr. Speaker, I stand and I am proud and boldly report that a number of my constituents have been successful thus far at their job interviews in the private sector. And some of them, and a lot of them, are already gainfully employed. At least 3 persons with associate's degrees have gotten work in the private sector based on this initiative that I have just explained, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I can give you an aside, maybe you can have an aside. A young man, one of the young people that I facilitated, helped him to, it's a job over there, you need to go apply to that establishment. He got back to me to let me know that he was successful. He had one little difficulty, and that was with the title, the name they gave his job. But he was tickled funny with the salary. The salary that he's getting is more than my other constituents with the same qualifications under the National Employment Program, Mr. Speaker. And I think that is amazing. Mr. Speaker, I am also proud of another experience that I have had. I received a message recently from one of my new constituents, and she sent me a message to say that she's enjoying her job, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, someone from the constituency who was just employed under the NEP this year, after a matter of less than 3 months, was promoted. She was identified as having skills greater than the job that she was doing, and she's now the manager of that institution. I say, hats off to her, congratulations to her. This Labour Party government is working to empower our people, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's another joke I have, that I'm going to share with you alone. In February, and that one is really dear to my heart, I sent a number of young men for interviews on the port. Everybody says you have to come good when you go to an interview on the port to impress the management of the port. I got a call back. I was told I was impressed. Where did you find them? If I could, I would have hired them all. Mr. Speaker, isn't that incredible? I told you I have bright sparks. They just need a helping hand, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was so happy when a few of them got jobs on the port. And they're all in touch with me, and they've all reported they're comfortable and they're enjoying their job. Mr. Speaker, this is the caring hand of this Dominica Labour Party government. And this is not something you can see in a green book. This is something you have to be on the ground to see and to hear about, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in my quest to continue to empower my people, last week I collaborated with the Digital Transformation Project to host a highly impactful Work Online Dominica Town Hall meeting. My people are eager to work, Mr. Speaker. If you see people, in excess of 75 young people were in attendance, attentive to the presentations on how to make money online. Mr. Speaker, at the end of the town hall, I took time to give them some pointers in an attempt to give them an edge in the application process. Because one colleague told me in her constituency, her constituents were a little shy about how to do the application process. They weren't sure how to do the video and what to say. Mr. Speaker, I gave them a little pointer. I was so glad that wasn't on camera, so I can be selfish and just keep that one for myself. And I am so excited because I have received videos on my phone. My constituents are seeing it through, and they are going to apply to be part of the cohort 4 training. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on education, this government continues to prioritize education. So, Mr. Speaker, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that I'm actively engaging with schools in my constituency, including the Goodwill Primary School, the Christian Union School, Sunbeam Preschool, the Little Explorer Learning Center, as I seek to improve the learning environment for the young constituents and to ensure their safety. I have also partnered with these schools and been part of a number of their initiatives and their events, and I pledge today to continue to do so while while I will also reach out to some of the other schools in the constituency. With respect to adult education and vocational training, Rosa-North has also been benefiting, Mr. Speaker. My constituents have been engaging in a wide range of skilled training programs, including refrigeration, air conditioning, plumbing, and cake making, and we expect this is going to continue in the new fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance in his budget address did a good job at explaining the need for review of the school's curriculum to better prepare our young people to compete in emerging fields such as artificial intelligence and the digital economy, and to equip them with the hard skills in technical and vocational areas of education. In short, in this rapidly changing world, it is important for our education systems to keep up so that our youth can be prepared to take advantage of all available opportunities. The budget did make a strong case for education reform. I support your proposals, Mr. Speaker, because it all forms part of the reset we speak of as a government. In today's world, we focus not only on academic excellence, but on the holistic development of a child. It behooves us to target our education system to cater to the new job opportunities to build on the strengths of our children, whether in technical, vocational, or academic fields, and to expose them to arts, sports, and culture. Our education system should cater for all and meet our children where their needs are. We certainly help increase their chances for success, Mr. Speaker, when we provide them with the modern facilities they need to learn and learn well. Mr. Speaker, you know where I'm going with that, right? This is why I'm so excited about what I call my passion project, Mr. Speaker. Construction of the Goodwill Secondary School will begin during this fiscal year. But in keeping with government's stated purpose to build back better and to set us on the right path to a dynamic Dominica, the new school will be constructed and modeled to serve as a center of excellence for technical and vocational training, education and training. This new center of excellence will help us to develop a cadre of highly skilled tradesmen and women who can not only meet the needs of this country, but who will be able to ply their trade anywhere in the region and the world. Mr. Speaker, we're going to be a leader in our constituency for technical and vocational education and training, Mr. Speaker. And I am excited, and I'm sure a number of people are dancing because remember that jingle of the airport coming? You know why it's on my mind like that, Mr. Speaker? Because I've been substituting airport with the Guru School. Mr. Speaker, just imagine the impact of this new school on the communities within Rosa-North and elsewhere. We cannot discount the impact of proper school facilities on the psyche of a child. A child-friendly, clean, safe school environment can positively affect the health, behavior, engagement, learning, and growth of our students. This is why I am so determined to see this through, and what a wonderful structure it will be. Mr. Speaker, we are speaking about specialized classrooms for robotics, facilities for every type of skill, including woodwork, auto mechanics, plumbing, garment production, food preparation, agriculture, and more. So I just want to say, Mr. Speaker, that this school and the other schools which will be constructed are focused on meeting the needs of our children, their physical, social, and educational needs. We are taking care of and ensuring the well-being of our children over the long term. Mr. Speaker, take this guarantee from me. Our new school at Goodwill will be the envy of others when it is built. Good things come to those who wait. Rosa-North, good things come to those who wait. But I am so much more interested in how it will uplift the community and at this moment and place our children on a more hopeful trajectory to success. And it strikes me, Mr. Speaker, that all of this is at the core of this Dominica Labour Party government's policy. We are indisputably the education party, the education government, and on a broader scale, a people's government. Mr. Speaker, earlier this month, we welcomed the Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China, who visited the site of the Goodwill Secondary School. It was indeed a pleasure to meet the Vice Minister in my capacity as a parliamentary representative. From our interaction, I was assured of China's commitment to starting this project soon and certainly to seeing it through completion. Mr. Speaker, I took the liberty of inviting the Vice Minister back for the opening of the new school. And through you, Mr. Speaker, I wish to repeat the invitation in this honorable house because I am confident that the Vice Minister will do everything in her power and within her influence to ensure that this school is built in a timely manner. I look forward to welcoming her back to our shores very soon for that opening, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to place on record my profound thanks as well to the government and people of the People's Republic of China for this invaluable gift of a school, which represents the future success and prosperity of our children and for the other schools that they will be constructing. I also wish to place on record my thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister for his foresight and for the solid relations that we enjoy with the People's Republic of China. Mr. Speaker, I wish also to assure my constituents that I will make every effort to ensure that in the construction of this new school at Goodwill, that the people of the Roseau North constituency will also share in any job opportunities that may arise. Mr. Speaker, I'm elated that the government social program has remained a priority in this year's budget. Thankfully, the flagship Yes We Care and the 65 and over non-contributory programs remain in place as we in the Roseau North constituency are also benefiting from those programs. Mr. Speaker, while some may criticize the impact of the NEP, I am pleased to affirm that this program has significantly enhanced the lives of numerous individuals in the Roseau North constituency. So as a para-rep, I am elated that the NEP is still a priority. Notably in the Roseau North constituency, I can confidently report that roughly 40 new people were added to the NEP in this year alone, Mr. Speaker. And I am happy for that. And I wish to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for his support in having these 40 new people on the NEP this year. Mr. Speaker, I cannot continue without making the point that monies under the NEP are monies well spent. For example, Mr. Speaker, my beautification team single-handedly cleared up the Goodwill School in preparation for construction, Mr. Speaker.
10 more minutes.
I'll be through in 10. Both beautification teams assisted with the clearing of drains in preparation for the hurricane season. This week, if you drive past, they're clearing the Goodwill Savannah, Mr. Speaker, ensuring that the area is looking nice and clean. In short, Mr. Speaker, they are working, and I want them to know I appreciate you and what you are doing. We're just forming a new team, beautification team from the community of Yampis, and I have every confidence that they too will make me proud. Mr. Speaker, I want to give another example of this NEP. One of my young constituents moved back to the east to take care of her mom, reached out to me, and we were able to hire her under the NEP to earn a salary while at the same time being able to take care of her mom, which I think is commendable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we've all witnessed the upgrading of the Lindo Park. This has been done through the funds available to the government under from the European Union. The park was enhanced with perimeter lights, which now facilitate events and games, a playground to cater for children of the constituency, perimeter fencing and plumbing. This revitalization project not only enhanced the park's infrastructure, but also created a vibrant and inclusive space for the community to gather, unwind, and enjoy recreational activities. Mr. Speaker, you can find the youth engaged in sporting activities from as early as 6 in the morning to late evenings. Mr. Speaker, as we continue to touch lives and make a difference in Roseau North, we have also been using the facilities. This year for Mother's Day, we took a significant step to honor and celebrate our moms. In particular, we had recognizing some persons that we call community moms, persons who not only guide and look after their own biological children, but also young people within that community, Mr. Speaker. The upgraded Lindo Park certainly provided a perfect setting for this heartfelt event, symbolizing the progress and positive change coming to the constituency of Roseau North. Mr. Speaker, community sports plays a pivotal role in fostering unity. Oh, and we had a Father's Day event too, Mr. Speaker. In my rush, I almost forgot that. That Father's Day was so impactful, people forgot it was Father's Day. I think the ambience just had them going. They came to me and they said, Parep, when is the next one? And I'm thinking, next Father's Day event? No. The next social event that brings us together. And Mr. Speaker, on that note, one of the things that I promised after winning this election was to go and bring unity to the constituency of Roseau North. And I was amazed. I was happy that persons I have never seen at one of our functions, young people in particular, were there on Father's Day. And I was happy to welcome them. I was happy to hang out with them. And I'm looking forward to doing the next one before Father's Day, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all know sports has been very important in the Roseau North constituency and in general as fostering unity and promoting physical fitness. Mr. Speaker, we have recently formed a Roseau North Sports Committee that will get back to the executive in Roseau North to advise on what sporting events can actually happen. Until then, I am sponsoring a football league in the community of Fokole, as well as a domino team, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, looking after the vulnerable during Easter, we had an interesting program where we identified vulnerable elders and brought them packages, care packages. From our interactions, people were very pleased and happy to receive those little gifts. Mr. Speaker, in addition, I joined forces and the constituency group with Peter Prosper and Oprah on the Carries Anything Goes to host a feeding program. Mr. Speaker, almost 60 persons received breakfast and lunch delivered to their homes, vulnerable people, while other people came down and hung out with us at the port. Mr. Speaker, disaster management, we had a dry run. We're on to forming disaster committees in Roseau North. When we had the threat from Tropical Storm Brett, I met with all of the shelter managers and some members of my executive so we can see and discuss how we can assist the shelter managers. Mr. Speaker, I say congratulations to my team. I think they did a very good job in the dry run that we had. We were able to get the vulnerable people to the shelters and to get them back, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to single out this person, Mr. Martin Lorcat, Substation Officer, Dominica Fire and Ambulance Services. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank him. Mr. Speaker, that was the officer in charge who I spoke to the evening and the next morning, who assisted us in moving the vulnerable to and from those shelters. And I want to say thank you to him publicly, Mr. Speaker. His swift and compassionate actions, in my mind, speaks volume. Thank you, Officer Lorcat. Mr. Speaker, after the dry run from the threat of the hurricane, I realized that we needed to have, in the Roseau North constituency, disaster committees. I have met with ODM and the local commissioner to discuss how we can go about doing this with some members of my executive. And pretty soon we're going to go on the ground to form those committees. I also requested because the night before I went to all of the shelters, I noticed something at one and I've asked them to go to all of the shelters, which was done last week, to do an assessment of the shelters to ensure that they are in fact suitable. And I am waiting on that report. Mr. Speaker, we are touching lives and we are making a difference in the Roseau North constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am also being engaged and collaborating in different forms with the Dominica Association of Persons with
Disabilities. 3 more minutes.
with the Dominica Council on Aging, with the Dominica Cancer Society. All of those are resident in the Rosa North constituency and also in my portfolio as social engagement. Mr. Speaker, I'm committed to continue working in the Rosa North constituency. A number of small, impactful infrastructure projects will be accommodated under the Ministry of Public Works Road Maintenance Program. Together with the support of the Honorable Prime Minister and my cabinet colleagues, and by the grace of God, Mr. Speaker, I will ensure that the vision transforms into tangible realities. With the little time that I have left, Mr. Speaker, I want to say thank you. Mr. Speaker, at this point, I want to first thank the Honorable Plaine for his support in the ministry. Together, we are achieving much, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to also express my appreciation to the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Gloria Joseph, Acting Labour Commissioner, Mr. Packett, other senior managers, and the rest of the staff of the Ministry of Labour, Public Service Reform, Social Partnership, Entrepreneurship, and Small Business Development for their hard work and commitment over the past 7 months. I say to them that I look forward to us achieving even more as we continue to increase efficiencies and be one of the lead ministries in the national reset. With these words, Mr. Speaker, I give my full, unwavering support to this year's budget. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Williams.
With your permission, I'd like to refer to my notes, Mr.
Yes,
Speaker.
you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me first extend warm greetings to you, Mr. Speaker, at this third meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament. I look forward to your usual sturdy and business-like approach to the proceedings of this honorable House. I extend greetings as well to our Prime Minister, the Honorable Roosevelt Scarrett, for his mentorship, guidance, and leadership, especially to the new parliamentarians like myself, contributing for the first time in a national budget debate. Mr. Speaker, if you will permit me, I wish to compliment the Honorable Irvin McIntyre, who was tasked with presenting his maiden budget address as the Minister of Finance of the Commonwealth of Dominica. Your presentation, Honorable Minister, has certainly set the stage for good discourse and intelligent debate in the days ahead. Thus far, I've seen no evidence of intellectual deficiency or bankruptcy. I forgive the Honorable Senator for those remarks yesterday. Mr. Speaker, let me indicate to this Honorable House my fullest and unwavering support of this 2023-2024 national budget. Kindly allow me to place on record that this support is to the complete budget estimates, which gives clear intention and points unequivocally to many positive and sure prospects for the Dominican people. Mr. Speaker, the budget estimates as provided forms part of the continued legacy of a world-class leader, a visionary planner, and an economic rainmaker who has fetched time and time again the required resources to fulfill the aspirations of this government in meeting the needs of every senior citizen, adult, and child across Dominica. In response to this good and quality leadership, Mr. Speaker, the people have been clear and decisive in their support to our Prime Minister as he fosters targeted, sustained, and resilient development in this country. This overwhelming support by an enlightened Dominican electorate has manifested at every general election in the past 23 years. I wish to reiterate my staunch support to this 2023-2024 national budget. Mr. Speaker, I would like to bring to the Dominican people a report on the work of the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Social Services, especially the area of social services where I have special responsibilities. This I will do in great anticipation of support for the Minister of Health, Wellness and Social Services, the Honorable Kasani Laville, as he presents the achievements of the wider ministry over the past year. Also, as policy lead, he will announce the overall plans and programs to the Dominican public as we aspire collectively to build a healthier and socially secure nation. Mr. Speaker, our ministry, and even more so the Department of Social Services, is one of care, empathy, compassion, and social protection, reflecting what is at the core of everything the Honorable Prime Minister stands for. I consider our ministry to be the heart of who he is, not just as a leader, but as a person, and it is undoubtedly a very gratifying ministry to be a part of as we work to change lives. Mr. Speaker, our government is devoted to the holistic development of all Dominicans and continues to provide support to its people to assist in addressing issues of risk, vulnerability, exclusion, and poverty. Special focus continues to be placed on ensuring that the most vulnerable in our society receive increased attention and effective programs are implemented geared towards augmenting the lives of the less fortunate. Mr. Speaker, our government remains steadfast in continuing to exhibit its profound care and protection for the vulnerable, weak, and marginalized in our society, as is clearly articulated in the National Resilience and Development Strategy, as well as the Climate Resilient and Recovery Plan. Notwithstanding these challenging economic times, this government remains resolute and has insisted that all the government's social safety net programs and social protection mechanisms for our most vulnerable population continue to function effectively and efficiently. Mr. Speaker, the design and implementation of these social protection programs in Dominica take into account the economic, legal, administrative, and physical obstacles that individuals face in accessing social protection, giving particular consideration to the needs of those groups which face added obstacles, including women, children, persons with disabilities, the elderly, indigenous peoples, and the marginalized. Mr. Speaker, government has embraced efforts to facilitate the sustainability and reliability of these programs, and several measures are aimed at creating and maintaining an enabling environment focusing on principles of intervention, empowerment, prevention, protection, and partnership for social services that will create opportunities to improve the quality of life of the poor and vulnerable. In order to carry out its functions, the ministry has established and strengthened numerous strategic alliances with local, regional, and international partners and donors to include other government ministries and agencies, the UNDP, World Food Programme, UNICEF, UN Women, among others. The strategic plan of the ministry, Mr. Speaker, articulates our vision as a resilient and empowered people contributing to Dominica's holistic development. And the mission stipulates our mandate, which is the enhancement of the quality of life for the Dominican population with specific focus on the vulnerable and people with disabilities, and the cultivation of a spirit of resilience through the implementation of appropriate and empirical interventions. Mr. Speaker, under the auspices of our ministry, among some of our responsibilities are implementing and assisting with a number of government social safety net programs, such as the Public Assistance Program, the Foster Care Program, care of our juveniles who come into conflict with the law, and Centenarian Program. Mr. Speaker, the government continues to provide annual subventions to several organizations which provide institutional care to the elderly, persons with special needs, and persons with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, last financial year, over 1 million EC dollars was expended in provision of assistance to the following institutions: Maho Seniors Home, Dominica Association of Persons with Disability, the Dominica Infirmary, the House of Hope, Parents Advocating for the Inclusion of Children with Disabilities, the Council or the Dominica Council on Aging, the Workshop for the Blind, the Community Hostels Inc., Portsmouth Home for the Aged, Salisbury Home for the Homeless, Reaching the Elderly Abandoned Citizens and Housebound, that's REACH, the Alpha Center, and the Dominica Red Cross. Our ministry continues to review these social programs in an effort to improve their effectiveness through rationalization and better targeting, and will continue to review current criteria and actions to ensure the sustainability and viability of the social protection systems. Mr. Speaker, I wish to refer to the Yes We Care program, the brainchild of the Honorable Prime Minister, which began in 2009. Currently, the program is in its 14th year of operation and continues to make a fundamental contribution and difference to the well-being of the vulnerable and marginalized elderly in our society. This intervention provides daily home care, personal hygiene, and monthly supplies to 163 beneficiaries across the island. Currently, the program provides employment for and benefits from the services of 41 caregivers and 9 supervisors, along with the administrative staff complement, all of whom receive necessary and regular training. The program collaborates with the relevant ministries to facilitate the provision of medical care, home repair services, and electrical installations to the homes of the clients as required. Over $1.2 million was spent for this program in the last financial year. Mr. Speaker, guided by the provisions of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, our government has made it a matter of priority to protect the rights of children. Chances, the children's home for the abused, neglected, cheated, and emotionally scarred, has been in operation for over a decade, having been established under the auspices of the Dominica Labour Party. Currently, Mr. Speaker, the facility is home to 29 residents, 20 females and 9 males. Chances is referred to as more than a home. It is a family. At this institution, the needs of these young people are met on a daily basis. They attend school regularly, and their performances this school year have been commendable. During this academic year, 3 students transitioned from primary school to secondary school, while 1 graduated from high school. The management and staff of this institution must be celebrated for creating a safe, secure, and non-threatening environment where stability, consistency, and success is possible for all residents. Mr. Speaker, the Commonwealth of Dominica is blessed to have 11 cherished centenarians. This government has ensured that assistance is provided to their families in order to make their lives more comfortable. Each centenarian receives $500 on a monthly basis, along with other support from our corporate partners, to include free water supply from the WASCO, free electricity supply from DOMLEC, and free cooking gas from Petrocaribe. All corporate partners of this country must be commended for their continued support to our centenarians. Mention must be made of our existing relationship with the Ministry of Housing and the invaluable support provided in addressing some of the housing needs of our centenarians in order to make their lives more comfortable in their golden years. Mr. Speaker, the Department of Social Services, formerly known as the Social Welfare Division, plays a critical role in administering government's public assistance program, assisting families and individuals, the provision of child care services to families in need, migrant services, counseling services, supervision of institutions who care for the elderly, and rehabilitative work for juveniles and young offenders who come in conflict with the law. Mr. Speaker, presently, the ministry administers a monthly public assistance allowance to approximately 1,800 beneficiaries island-wide, which amounted to over EC $7 million last financial year. In administering the public assistance program, the Department of Social Services works collaboratively with the Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for administering the government's non-pensionable contributions to over 2,600 senior citizens who are 65 years and over. Last financial year, there was a 5% increase in payment of the non-contributory allowance for these persons. Mr. Speaker, the World Food Programme, in its continued efforts to provide much-needed support to the government of Dominica, implemented a program targeting households who were affected by the November 2022 East Trough system. An amount of $335,000 was dispersed to 638 households from the World Bank's cash transfer programs for beneficiaries from the villages of Grandfond, Morne-Jaune, Rivière-Séric, Castle Bruce, Petit-Soufrière, Good Hope, and Saint-Sauveur. Mr. Speaker, the government has taken the decision to mandate the enactment of new legislation through the passage of a suite of family laws in Parliament in April of this year. The primary goal of these laws is to enhance the legislative framework which governs the actions taken to safeguard and promote the well-being of the vulnerable population, to include women and children living in abusive and/or low-income homes and families, as enshrined in the Constitution, and also highlights the state's obligation under the UN conventions. The laws referred to earlier are the Children Care and Adoption Act, Status of Children Act, the Maintenance of Children Act, Maintenance Act, and Domestic Violence Act. Cognizant of the critical importance and need to sensitize pertinent stakeholders on the family laws, as well as in keeping with the pronouncement made by the Honorable Prime Minister, the Ministry has planned numerous sensitization and training activities to take place island-wide. The first training activity was convened in Roseau with police inspectors to familiarize them on their role in the implementation of the said laws. Mr. Speaker, the Child Justice Bill, though it has not yet been enacted, will bring transformative changes in the manner in which a child accused of an offense is dealt with. Emphasis is placed on diversion, which refers to diverting an accused away from formal court procedures towards a more constructive and positive solution. The bill proposes a number of diversion options, one of which has shown tremendous success. Mr. Speaker, the ministry initiated a post-charge diversion pilot program in partnership with the Social Center through its FOTA program. FOTA meaning from offending to achieving. During the last financial year, government committed the sum of $266,950 towards the FOTA program. That sum was utilized and helped ensure the sustainability of the program and aided parents who otherwise would have been unable to meet the educational costs of their children's participation. 10 students recently graduated from the FOTA program. 5 of whom were referred by the court, and others were self-registered. Mr. Speaker, a review of the program revealed that overall it provided rehabilitative care to the participants where they were provided with the opportunity to take responsibility for their actions, as well as to become meaningful contributors to society through personal development and training. Mr. Speaker, the dire need for successful implementation of the new family laws triggered the over $400,000 investment for the restructuring of the Social Welfare Division and establishment of a new unit within the Dominica Police Force. These new structures are charged with a mandate to facilitate the process of implementing holistic human development through the provision of preventive, developmental, rehabilitative, and therapeutic services, and prioritizing the protection and well-being of the vulnerable population. Under the new dispensation, the Department of Social Services will have a staff complement of 26 and will facilitate increased efficiency and effectiveness in the delivery of services to the population. Among some of the other benefits to be derived are greater attention, supervision, and timely processing of public assistance applications, quicker issuance of allowance, and monitoring and review of recipients, development of care exit plans, better intervention and coordination of child abuse matters, more attention to children in foster care, provision of great support and effective supervision of juvenile offenders, and better enforcement of provisions of the Child Justice Bill when enacted. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister initiated and appointed members to a National Advisory Board during the financial year 2022-2023. The National Advisory Board serves in an advisory capacity to the Prime Minister and Government of Dominica on all matters that impact the quality of life of senior citizens. The board will also provide advice and guidance for developing and implementing and information of standards for providing appropriate communication support, advocacy, and personalized accessible information and support to all the persons by all health and social care organizations in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, the matter of child abuse remains a concern for us. We are confident, Mr. Speaker, that the increase in human resource to assess child care matters and the addition of a head counselor at the Department of Social Services to assist with clinical assessments and intervention of trauma experienced by clients will contribute to addressing that concern. Under the foster care program, there are currently 62 children. The ministry expresses deepest gratitude to these foster parents for opening their homes and hearts to these children. I can personally attest to the functionality of the foster care program here, as I had two of my past patients are now under foster care and doing extremely well. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Dominica and the Ministry, via the Bureau of Gender Affairs, continue to work tirelessly to achieve gender equality as stipulated in the national policy frameworks, including the government's National Resilience Development Strategy and the Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan 2030, as well as regional and international frameworks. Over the past year, the ministry, through the Bureau of Gender Affairs, carried out gender-based violence sensitivity training for community leaders and sensitizing of citizens through various mediums on the issue of gender equality and the critical role it plays in achieving the Sustainable Development Goal Agenda 2030. several gender-specific programs for men and women reinforcing priorities around poverty reduction, economic empowerment, and social protection were implemented. Some of the key achievements are as follows: domestic violence prevention and response, gender transformative projects, contribution towards international global gender priorities. Mr. Speaker, efforts are in place to scale up support for survivors of domestic violence through the continuation of the social assistance programs. One such program is the Safe Housing Program, which has been instrumental in saving lives. Survivors can access support under this program to move away from the perpetrators of violence and receive hand-holding support to build self-sufficient lives independent of these perpetrators. Mr. Speaker, over $13,000 was expended under the Social Assistance Program to survivors under the Safe Housing Program. 60% of the Bureau's beneficiaries received support with nutrition and hygiene supplies, while 30% benefited from rent support. Mr. Speaker, Dominica continues to be recognized regionally and internationally for its work on gender and climate change, gender and disaster risk reduction, and building resilience among vulnerable populations. In March 2023, I presented a statement at the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, and in April 2023, the Bureau of Gender Affairs shared an original presentation highlighting national best practices in driving gender-responsive action, planning, and implementation and response. Dominica's case study on gender progress was featured and used as a success story across Latin America and the Caribbean region. The government supports the elimination of discrimination against women and continues to make investments in policies and programs designed for the desired effect. Progress has been made with regards to the promotion of gender equality and empowerment of women, as evidenced by the higher representation of female politicians serving in the Honorable House. On the third floor, Mr. Speaker, there is a large and enlarged pic of the cabinet of 2005. And I was amazed. I was reminded that among all the men, there was but one female. And look at us now. See how many of us have graced the Honorable House. This is progress, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me again emphasize how critical it was to pass the Dominica Violence or Domestic Violence Act in April 2023. The Act is consistent with international gender-responsive action plans and frameworks, which include the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women and the Beijing Declaration. Moreover, the provision of this new legislation is to provide greater protection and relief for victims of domestic violence and to make provision for the granting of protection orders in favor of survivors. Mr. Speaker, going forward, the Bureau of Gender Affairs will seek to continue to make progress in these areas in pursuance of the government's unswerving commitment in attaining the policy goals in this area and making the country's environment conducive for the advancement of both men and women. Mr. Speaker, social inclusion aims to achieve an inclusive society that entails respect for human rights, cultural diversity, and upholds principles of equality and equity. As a process, it enables all citizens' participation in decision-making activities that affect their lives. As an outcome, it ensures the reduction of inequalities, elimination of any form of exclusion and discrimination, and achievement of social justice and cohesion. At the core of the Sustainable Development Goal 2030 agenda is the transformative promise, leave no one behind. Mr. Speaker, the government of Dominica in 2012 ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the optional protocol, which is an international human rights instrument of the United Nations intended to protect the rights and dignity of persons with disabilities. The government, via the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Social Services, facilitated the establishment of the National Commission of Persons with Disabilities in March 2022. Since the inauguration, the Council has kept monthly meetings to discuss matters of interest. The Commission would advise government on matters related to the fundamental rights of persons with disabilities, to include an adequate standard of living, social protection, and other disability-related needs, services, and assistance. Mr. Speaker, during this financial year, the Ministry, through the Department of Social Services, will endeavor to scale up advocacy and community engagement to increase awareness and understanding of the newly enacted family laws, revitalize the Central Registry on Gender-Based Violence, which is a uniformed data collection system for domestic and gender-based violence in Dominica. Continue training for frontline service providers, including police officers, community health providers, and other key community leaders. Development of a communication strategy to sensitize persons on the work of the Department of Social Services, implementation of a national parenting program in partnership with government departments and civil society organizations, and establishment of a management information system. Mr. Speaker, no matter how large a budget,
30 more minutes.
thank you, sir, no matter how prudent a government or how strong a leader, if we as a nation do not play our part in nation building and with the right attitude, we will accomplish little. Mr. Speaker, allow me the opportunity to present a case for my constituency. Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to lead and share this geographic space with the good people of Plaine, Boutica, and Delice. Presenting this case on their behalf is part of my preoccupation in this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, I rest in the assurance that I have the support of the Honorable Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, as well as the entire Cabinet of Ministers in my quest to bring growth and development to the Plaine, Boutica, and Delice people. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, a foundation has been laid by the past parliamentary representatives in the persons of Honorable Peter Saint-Jean and Honorable Kent Edwards. I wish to thank them profusely for laying this foundation. Mr. Speaker, one of my greatest desires is to see the Plaine constituency flourish, animated and energized through self-actualization, better socialized and truly capacitated to be the lead constituency it should be. This must happen such that everyone realizes his and her true potential and lead a more fulfilled life. Mr. Speaker, since we all understand that times are changing and that it is more difficult today than it was even a few years ago, there must be a new order of business. We must change as well our approaches to both delivering and accessing this people-centered development. And I hope everyone is hearing the theme of the reset as I speak. Let us see where we were just a few years ago, Mr. Speaker. We need the Dominican people, especially my constituency, to visualize this. Mr. Speaker, we are all fully aware of the devastation caused by numerous disasters, both natural and medical, and my constituency was not spared. As a matter of fact, Mr. Speaker, the Plaine constituency was the first community where the COVID-19 virus was, was discovered or manifested. Its eventual spread island-wide cost us a hefty price, including the loss of loved ones. Frontline ministries with their dedicated staff joined in the battle, and we persevered, pulled through, picked up, and dusted ourselves from ensuing aftershocks, and we won. Mr. Speaker, this is what responsible government does. This is what sound leadership is about. Sir, this is what collective responsibility accomplishes. Mr. Speaker, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica cannot do all of what we require as a people alone. No parliamentary representative can do it alone. So, Mr. Speaker, there is need for our people to do the following. Join ranks with the Honorable Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Dominica and all parliamentary representatives to fight hard to preserve our country and our way of life. Understand the government's need to prioritize, given that so many needs exist with so few resources to accommodate them. Desire that we truly become each other's keepers and serve each other with greater love. As the Minister of Finance indicated, become increasingly frugal in spending and more efficient in reducing waste at our workplaces and homes, and manage effectively our scarce national and personal resources. We must protect money inflows, pay our taxes where necessary, work hard, provide a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. Be deliberate in building our technical and financial capacities. Plan strategically and execute efficiently as we go on this resilient journey. Protect our country and its people from local and foreign bad public relations. Protect our children, women, elderly, and other vulnerable populations from violence and inequities. Become healthier by eating nourishing local foods that we grow, and exercise our bodies away from CNCDs and other ailments. Protect our environment, whether land or marine ecosystems, from all forms of pollution. Again, the sound of the reset. Mr. Speaker, we as a country need to all work together for its development. And I will work tirelessly with the Petite Savanne and Granby constituencies so that we become linked and bridge the divide between us. We must work with our people to find a very cost-effective solution to this. And I know, Mr. Speaker, that many are waiting with bated breath, sitting on the edge of their chairs, perhaps increase the volumes of their radios, although my colleague alluded to it yesterday. But I will say that allocations are in this budget for the Dalis Petite Savanne crossing. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, there's the Sari Bridge in Plaine to get done, the Botica Bridge to consider, and as well the Rosalie River Bridge to be built. These are all costly undertakings that could find themselves as high priorities. Mr. Speaker, my constituents and I promise to lend our support to the CBI program, since this will surely be to our benefit and will help in actualizing some of these projects. Mr. Speaker, the time has come for us to create and build for the collective. Again, I reiterate that our approach must be different. Every person must work for this collective good. Because of this change in mindset and behavior, Mr. Speaker, this legacy of support and development will continue in greater measure. Mr. Speaker, with this heartfelt plea, I present the consumption of this honorable House, especially my colleagues, these 8 key or strategic areas of intervention for my constituency's growth and change. 1, agricultural development. And I heard yesterday as the Minister of Agriculture included the Plaine constituency in his address. I have information also concerning designs for the renovation of the Agricultural Training Center in Plaine. Number 2 strategic plan is sports development. And I will allow the Minister of Sports to surprise, or not really surprise, but to inform them of what he has in store for our constituency. But I will say that the Delis playing field is on his mind for this year. Number 3, business development and entrepreneurship. Number 4, community image, social responsibility, participation and volunteerism. Resilient housing and smart infrastructure, that's number 5. Number 6, resource mobilization. And here I include local and diasporans as well. As we speak, Mr. Speaker, the Delis fencing project for the primary school is almost complete, and this is as a result of contributions made by a diasporan. Constituency health, wellness, and safe environments, and the elderly, children, and youth. So these are the 8 strategic areas of intervention. Mr. Speaker, this was intended to give a preview of our intentions for the constituency. Our common vision is as such: to have a well-built, vibrant, and warm community or constituency that allows for and involves the active participation of all, that promotes the sustainable economic and social well-being of constituents while preserving the built and natural environment and landscape. Our collective mission is to utilize, through active participation, available resources, including human skills that exist in the local communities and the diaspora, to build the premier constituency on island. And so, Mr. Speaker, I will work diligently with the Plaine, Boutica, and Delis communities, engaging the many talented persons, both here and overseas. Let me end by saying again that I fully support the 2023-2024 national budget and look forward to its implementation, especially where my constituency is concerned. I know without a doubt that there is a sure thumbs up and acceptance by Plaine, Boutica, and Delis. Mr. Speaker, permit me also to express my deepest gratitude to the Honorable Prime Minister for his visionary and effective leadership and for the numerous interventions geared towards improving the quality of lives for all Dominicans. Let me also thank my constituency for their love and support, and the permanent secretaries, particularly Mrs. Rudette Baptiste, and the staff of the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and Social Services for their commitment and hard work. Also, the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Health, and of course, the Honorable Kasani Laville. Mr. Speaker, I wish to declare God's covenanted favor as we move forward to higher heights together. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House be suspended until 2 p.m.
Second motion, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved that the House be suspended until 2 p.m. this afternoon. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House stands suspended until 2 p.m. this afternoon. Mr. Speaker.
It was all right?
Thank you.